Welcome to the Voice of Retail. I'm Michael LeBlanc, your host. The Voice of Retail is produced in conjunction with Retail Council of Canada, and it's presented by Hale, a performance marketing partner trusted by brands like ASICS, Sage, and Orange Theory to scale with focus and impact. Martha and Shelley, welcome to the Voice of Retail podcast. How are you doing today?
Pretty good.
Great.
Fantastic.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, it's a big day, so thanks for taking time out. We're here at world headquarters for your organization. You're just looking like you just a spring day. You haven't been traveling at all, Shelley.
Oh.
You're here to launch the brand. So I'm very excited to learn both about Hopson Grace and about Mud and about how the two of you came together. I think there's a lot of lessons for everyone here. So let's jump in. Martha, tell us a little bit about you. I'm gonna start local. Who are you and what's your background? And then if you could share a bit about your partner as well and give us some context.
So I have a background in communications with a touch of branding, specializing in retail and luxury goods. And over the course of 15 years, I saw a lot of change happening, worked on large brands like Williams-Sonoma, Pottery Barn launched in Canada. And
you were with Veritas, right? Have I got that right?
I was with Veritas, I was with Jane Gale PR, and
Yep.
I was with MSL Canada. So I went from small boutique agency to large global agency and really learned a lot about the consumer and the customer through my clients, and really fell in love with home and design and saw a huge gap in the marketplace as we saw the consumer mindset shift really about 10 years ago away from big box. And saw a big hole in the marketplace for
some nice white space, basically. Where can I fit? Crowded space, right? You're in a very crowded, housewares in one way is very crowded space.
In a
right?
way, but it's quite mass. And what
Sure.
we were noticing, I mean that by Andrea Hopson. She's the Hopson. My middle name is Grace, Martha Grace McKimm. Hopson Grace is a creation that the two of us really came together to show Canadians that they didn't have to travel around the world to find something special. And
Speak more about how the two of you came together. So, did you know each other from work, and then how did this? You were having a glass of wine and said,
Well, it was really over lunch.
Only.
It was really over lunch. Andrea was with Tiffany and Company, the jewelers,
Right.
for 21 years,
Right.
and she was running the Canadian division.
Yep.
And I was working with a lot of global brands, and I think we were both ready after 20 years to do something a little more freeing, a little more independent.
Yeah.
Saw this huge hole in the marketplace. Total love for entertaining, and we saw a cultural shift happening. People were, think about the foodie revolution and how people are so much more into cooking than they used to be.
Yeah.
Craft cocktails. There was just a huge cultural shift happening.
And date this for me. When is this
we
conversation
launched
happening?
in 2015.
Okay.
So this was happening between 2010, 2010 and 2015.
Okay.
Things were changing. And there seemed to be a lack of offering for things that were unique, special, and focused on quality, not just on scale, not just on mass, not mass-made, things that last, and things that are special and things that are unique. Couldn't find anything in the city. And it's the fourth largest city in North America.
Yeah, it's not like we're a small market that nobody pays any attention to, right? So if you can't find it here, it's interesting what you say, because if you can't find it here, then it kind of tells you and your partner there's probably an opportunity, because pretty much you can find a lot of great stuff here. Maybe not as much as traveling in Manhattan, but still
Correct.
Pretty good, right?
And also at the same time, people were really aware of coming back to the table and the psychological benefits of eating together. And so again, that cultural shift that was happening was also, kind of leaning into that slow food movement that's been building over the last, generation. And away from just not appreciating the small moments in life.
Right. Fantastic. Shelley, let's talk about you. So you've traveled a fair distance to get here, based in Australia. But what's your story? And I want to talk about your brand, Mud.
I started Mud just over 30 years ago. And I came from a background of left high school, wanted to be a musician, actor, spent
As one does, yeah.
Spent 10 years sort of mucking around and not really trying that hard, but having a very good time. And then moved into a share house in Sydney with a girl who had a kick wheel in the back shed. And for 6 months she said, you should have a go. And I said, thanks, but I'm going out. And one day she wasn't there and I just wandered into the shed and spent a few hours playing. And she came back and said, I've been doing a course for this long and I can't do that, and was really quite cross with me, and but then encouraging. And I just fell in love with clay and fell in love with the way I felt when I was making clay, probably more importantly. And I guess that speaks to the world we live in and how fast everything is. And to slow things down and to be in one place centred on something is it's a gift.
Right on. So based in Sydney, right? So
based in Sydney.
Very good.
And I was working at the time for a large company, applied for a job that I didn't get, and I just threw myself into clay full time. Gave all my friends really ugly presents, and they were all very encouraging. And eventually I kind of found my feel, which was, not trying to be mass-produced, not apologising for a drip or a thumbprint, realising that people wanted something that was made by somebody's hands, and that machines do the other stuff really well.
What do the carpet makers say? The Persian carpet makers often say we often on purpose leave a mistake in the rug because only God can deliver perfection.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds. So would you describe that as, for all these years, it takes a lot of persistence and perseverance. What's your, what do you say, your animating principle or your animating strategy behind that keeps you going? I get the genesis of it, but what keeps you going through the great days and the less than great days?
I think I'm incredibly stubborn, but I think also really when we sort of distilled it down into we want to make nice things for nice people in lovely places, and that's really, we're not trying to do anything special like doctors and engineers. We're doing something that adds to your life. But it's
is that how you look at every piece? So every piece that comes out still today, that becomes your touchstone against which, whether it's a new line, a new color, a new item. You're like, does this add value?
Yeah,
in some way?
We're not making things to make money.
Right.
We're a first
nice
world manufacturer.
It's a nice byproduct.
It's definitely a lifestyle that we have. Our teams are all paid well. Everybody gets a living wage and is I think fairly happy in their place. But we're not going to make a ton of cash doing a handmade product in a first world country. That doesn't happen. But it is a beautiful thing to do.
Yeah.
And I feel very proud of the work we've done so far.
I was checking it out briefly, and I'm going to spend more time with this beautiful product. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
10 years, Hopson Grace. Not a lot of retailers make indie retailers. It's not easy to be an independent retailer. 10 years. What's led to that? Your success. You have have you moved? Has this always been your location? Did you,
So we started out with a small boutique store in Rosedale, and when COVID hit, we had been hearing over the years. We were registering a lot of couples who said, "Can you please let us register for towels and kitchen electrics and some more things?" We kept getting a lot of pressure to add more categories to our mix, and because they loved what we were doing, which was curating things, getting rid of all the. It's a lot of work to essentially sort through a lot of stuff out there in the marketplace, and so you build up a lot of trust with your customers by weeding out.
Curating. We'd call it curating, perhaps.
Curating,
right?
a very overused word, but it works for us. And so they loved our curation, and we were soon bursting out of our original store. And so we moved from Rosedale to DuPont Street to a much larger location with the goal of becoming a little more of a design destination, with the goal of knowing that online was going to grow, and in anticipation of a new wedding platform that we're building that will really be need a lot of logistical support.
Sure.
So really what we are Sorry, I'm going to start that over.
No, go ahead.
DuPont is really a place to bring the community together. It allows us to host events, which we do a lot of. And now this next iteration of having an experience. I mean, how do you get people to get out of the house and to come into a store? You've got to offer something different than just great products. So for us, it's really about a community hub for events. And then this shop and shop partnership with Mud is for us the perfect next iteration of a great customer experience. And it allows us to do storytelling on a much deeper level.
Can we talk about e-commerce for just a minute? Generally, I think asking e-commerce versus physical retail is kind of asking the wrong question. I mean, in some ways, they become a difference or a distinction without a difference because people are they shop online or they look online, they come show up in person. What's your philosophy about online sales? I mean, I often talk to retailers who have more an experiential hands-on, and they're I'm not sure what role this plays. Does this play you've come and you've been to DuPont Street here in Toronto and you don't live here, you can now order, is it a market expansion for you? Is it a online catalog to get people into the store, customer acquisition? How do you think of online?
Well, we think of it as an opportunity to be able to reach and please customers that aren't living in Toronto. So we have customers in Oakville and London, Ontario, and Guelph and Ottawa and Montreal who are so thrilled to be able to have a little bit of Hopson Grace in their lives because of the ability to order online and get their products shipped to them. So, the evolution of e-commerce is really a result of this demand that has grown. And it really has been through storytelling, which is at the core of what we've done since we started. And it started out with email marketing, which is just kind of what we do and how we tell the story about a product.
Yeah, it still works.
It is all about understanding the value of a product. And I always say value equals values. Because if you can explain the value of something, people are willing to spend a little bit more because they understand what makes it different, what makes it special. So if you think of a mud bowl, I mean, that story is incredible about bringing Limoges porcelain and pouring it to make this product stronger. I mean, it's a beautiful story.
Shelley, do you think it's sometimes said that people buy the story before they buy the product? Is that a philosophy that you'd align to?
I think partly, but I think they listen to other people. For us, definitely, we've had viral marketing has been the only way that we've really marketed. And so it's through word of mouth, and within Australia we're probably a household name in 80% of locations. But there's nothing I prefer. I love being in a store when a customer comes in and they start selling to another customer that's just walked in for the first time. And that's kind of that thing, isn't it? It's like if somebody loves what you do enough, they will talk about it and they will gift it, and they gift it, and it is reintroduced to somebody else. So. Right.
To be remarked upon, as Seth Godin often says, right, is kind of one of those key indicators of success. People want to talk about you. They want to buy things, and they understand that there's more than just a commodity behind it, right?
And also that thing of you make everything here. You make everything in Australia. Or you haven't shipped it offshore, and so many brands do that because it's difficult. It's not a...
Is that we're of course going through our whole nationalism thing here in Canada about made in Canada. Many brands would say, designed in Canada, designed in America, but made somewhere else, typically China. Yeah. Is that a driver that it's a nationalistic thing, or is it just because it's local? I mean, it could play in Canada well, but you also have stores in the U.S. and
I think it's about the company having good standards. Caring about that, and part of the storytelling is about our studio and what we do in our studio and how lovely a place it is to go and visit.
Do you think that people think deeper about that? I mean, it's a good question for both of you, that they said, well, I'm going to keep my money and I want to support my own economy, I want to support my own country. Do you think they conceptualize that far, or they just kind of have this free-floating happiness that things are made locally?
For me, I think it's all about authenticity. And so if you are transparent about where your products are made, people still come in and love to buy something from Ginori, which is hand-painted in Italy, or appreciate these, sustainable placemats that are made in Colombia. It's about the authenticity of the making and the maker that to us translates. And of course, if they find something that's made in Canada and they love it, great. But I think it's a larger thing in terms of what makes someone kind of compelled by a product and want to have it in their home or give it as a gift.
Right. Important. Let's talk about your customer, Hopson Grace customer. What does he or she look like? And are they, I mean, I think we're getting the sense of, people who are, more discriminating or more, thinking a lot more about the products in their house, and maybe they buy less but buy better. Or, do any of these segments sound familiar?
Absolutely. They're not. We don't define our customer by age or by income. It's a real mindset. So it's about someone who's curious and interested in art, someone who loves to cook and wants to find the coolest cook's tools around.
And entertain probably when they cook,
and
right?
entertain. And so our customer it depends, like whether they're 28 or 68, they come to us for the same reason. So they love our Indigenous Cape Dorset table mats that we bring out every year because it celebrates Canadian art and supports local artisans, and yet it's a beautiful product that they're proud to have in their home.
Yeah, I was looking at that those fish, not table mats, the fish placemats, the fish with the design. I was in Vancouver last week, and I went to this great restaurant, Michelin star restaurant, or Michelin recommended, and they served you a tin of food, the bespoke tin food movement, right? And they just open up the tin and give you a fork with potato chips and on it. But it was such a unique and interesting presentation, so I brought a whole bunch of fish back, and I'm going to get that thing because it's going to be perfect. Is Shelley not your first? How many stores do you have? 10. You've got stores across the world, right?
This will be 14.
14. So, but the 14, are they a mix of shop and shops? You've got some freestanding stores, right?
Only freestanding stores.
Only
this is our first shop and shop.
This is interesting. So you've got, you got freestanding stores. I think the closest one to here is probably in Brooklyn.
We've got one in Brooklyn, one in Manhattan.
Brooklyn and Manhattan. Why a different strategy for Canada? So lots of international retailers like Canada for a whole bunch of reasons. It more or less acts and behaves like the U.S. market. Yeah. But you chose to go a different path here. Why?
I think, we met these guys. They do an excellent job in what they do. And my husband and I came up in February.
February was cold.
And
How'd you meet?
Cold.
Where'd you meet? Like at a trade show?
Show. I think we've been having conversations for a long time. We're a bit obscure in that if we have one retailer in a city the size of Toronto, we'll just say, just one. Just one. No, sorry, we can't.
It feels like the two brands would naturally gravitate together.
Absolutely.
Right, philosophically.
It took a little bit of time, but we got there eventually.
We hunted them down for a while, but they finally converted them.
Okay.
Why did you choose to go
in this model?
This model here in Canada?
I think that's part of this whole conversation of what is next for retail and what is next for us. And, you came when I was putting that vinyl on the wall and not very happy about it because I can't do everything and I can't be everywhere. And the more we do, the further we spread ourselves to keep that messaging and the storytelling authentic. You need people that can pass that on. And I don't want to say I'll never do our own store in not in Toronto, but in
Vancouver,
somewhere else.
Somewhere, yeah.
But at this point, there's a lot you have to learn about every city. So we don't go into a city and do 20 stores, which would be sensible. We go in and do one store in a city, and then we go to the next. We pick another place. Then we need to learn all about the taxes and labour laws and for each city, and then we need an accountant in each city. Yeah. So all of those things we're not having to do as much of because these guys are doing the business side and we're providing the product, and maybe it's a little easier. I think that we'll work together. We already know we can work well together. It's just how far can this next?
Yeah. Do you ever do any I was in Soho. I'm in Soho next week, and I was at the Printemps store, and some brands doing some pop-ups and things like that. Do you ever do? You see a day when you're doing a pop-up store in Soho or things like that. It's kind of a wide gamut of things that you can do these days. Is that of interest to you?
We've done a pop-up in Melbourne in a suburb that I love called Albert Park, and that's done really well. And we're actually still there. They've sort of they're pulling the building down eventually, but
permanent pop-up.
It's kind of we seem to just be there now.
Yeah.
It will have to happen at some point because they are taking the building down. But I think it is good to know what you can do within that environment, and I think pop-ups are a great idea. I spoke with the people from Le Bon Marché last year, and they're very keen for us to do a shop-in-shop there. I don't know how to do that because I don't have a French speaker that I can just pop over there.
Yeah.
And again, the storytelling is really important. So if you can't train someone and you can't kind of control that narrative, that can be problematic. So
I was speaking to Aritzia, a big Canadian.
We're just doing an order for them at the moment.
Fantastic. So I had the opportunity to talk to their founder, Brian Hill, last week, and we were talking about the role of stores, and he's now really one of the few. There's a small group of Canadian retailers who've been successful in the United States, so we kind of explored that for a little bit. And one of the things we talked about was the role of stores in customer acquisition, so that they themselves are not just a sales by square foot, but he said order of magnitude about 40% of his new customers come really in the trading area in cities like Chicago and New York because of the physical store. Does that play a role when you think about stores or presence, that it's like a new, it's almost a more efficient way of new customer acquisition sometimes than paying the big platforms who are just like, it's just hard to get through. You find some great real estate, you find a great partner, and that, is 1 + 1 = 3 kind of brand exposure.
Yeah, I mean, I've always believed that, but I don't know what happens next.
Right.
I think that I think we need to be cleverer. We need to work out ways that I want people to want to buy what we make. I don't want to be pushing them to make it.
Sure.
And I think when
more
people
discovery, right?
I think it is. I think it is, and it's sort of it's something that you either fall in love with or you really don't want to be around. With handmade with the amount of colour we do. So,
which is incredible. Like I was on the site and like, my goodness, you have an incredible array of colors. When you thought about an assortment here, I'm not sure how deep your assortment is here, but it's probably not every single item. How do the two of you think about what's best for the Canadian market? You've obviously got an expert here at the table with you in a retailer like Hopson Grace, but as you think about what's going to resonate with Canadians, did you any feeling?
I think we're feeling it out. So we've brought nearly everything across. So there's not a huge back stock amount, but we do everything from house numbers to lights to dishes and platters.
That's great.
Yeah.
And, we have a lot of customers who had been to the stores in London and New York and said, oh, can you not get this in? Can you not get that in? So Andrea and I had a lot of pressure to bring in a lot of product, but there's so much assortment that we thought, you know what, we just need to get the whole store in here.
Boy, it's a real challenge, right? Because on the one end, if you're bringing a brand in, people, want that depth, and they said, well, I experienced it somewhere else, and if it's a let's use curated again, but if it's a smaller, a subset assortment, you risk a bit of disappointment, right?
Correct.
We'll be right back after these messages. The Voice of Retail is brought to you by Hale, the partner behind some of the fastest growing DTC and retail brands in North America. Hale is recognized for senior teams who cut out the noise and keep their focus on what matters most: growth. Their approach is based on outcomes, not hours. They are selective with who they partner with, bringing speed, accountability, and a clear strategy to every engagement. Paid media, content, performance, all of it connects directly to real results. That's why brands like A6 Sage and Orange Theory choose Hale to help them scale. Learn more at wearehale.com.
Let's widen the lens a little bit on vendors for a second at Hopson Grace. You've mentioned, who was it, Ginori? Ginori. But in terms of vendors, what do you look for? How do you select them? You probably go to trade shows, but with a format like yourself, there's a lot of places, fair, online market. Well, everybody goes there, right? Everybody can find that great stuff. Talk about your philosophy of working with vendors, how you choose them.
So we're pretty selective about who we work with, and really, I think I said it before, but it really is a lot about values and a vendor's values and a vendor's aesthetic. So it's just this, when you get the combination of quality product, an authentic kind of way of making products that are meant to last, that longevity issue, and just incredible design. It's when they all come together, that's when we know we want to work with the product. So sometimes we'll discover a vendor at a trade show.
Sure.
Andrea and I went to Paris a lot in the first few years of being in business, and we now get approached by a lot of brands. And so it's a combination of handpicking. David Mellor was one of the first brands that we partnered with, incredible British brand that really makes one of the best lines of cutlery you can get in the world. And we're very proud partners of them. Ginori Classic, one of the oldest porcelain producers in the world. But then we're now discovering Colombian artisans that we'll partner with, and it really does depend on that big aha when this trifecta of quality and sustainability.
You got to watch your supply chain, though, right? As you start to stretch into far-flung places. I mean, Sydney's very commercial, very sophisticated. But when you start to going to South America, I've talked to retailers. They're like, "I love the stuff, but it's very hard because the supply chain is very complicated, right?"
It can be. Thank God for Google Translate.
I'm going to get those new. Have you seen the new Apple AirPods they come out with that automatically translate in your ear? I'm going to get a pair of those. And
but what happens the other way? So you can understand what that person's saying, but then
yeah. It's just a way for you to eavesdrop on conversation. You have to pass them on. Let's talk about the wedding registry for a bit. I ran the Bay's registry for a little bit. When I was at the Bay, 7-8 years at the Bay, one of the things I did is help relaunch, and we learned a lot of stuff about how people in that format we learned so much about how people like to shop. We would give. We would see and kind of watch the woman kind of going along with the guy who's like, "Oh my God, I'd rather be anywhere else than here." So we gave him a scanning gun, and suddenly they started scanning all these things, and it was just a big breakthrough in these quirky things. But how do you think about, you've already mentioned the registry as an important factor, kind of proprietary. What's different about it, and how do you see it as a key pillar for? Is it like a part of the flywheel for the business?
It's partly flywheel, but it really is. It's a new sister brand that we're soon launching. It's called The Registry, theregistry.ca. You can go on Instagram at The Registry. We took 10 years of registering couples in store. Of course, anyone can put the registry online, but the experience showed us just how detailed and specific someone wants their experience to be. And couples expect to have the tools to register online. They simply don't want to come into stores to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So what we did is we turned all the intellectual property we accumulated over the 10 years, and we turned it into a platform that is going to be pretty exciting. It's got all the digital tools that a lot of larger mass players offer: group gifting, cash funds, thank you note tracker, and then it combines it with premium brands and products and that curated edit, including travel experiences as well.
Oh, so that's the part of the sister brand. So it's not just products you can buy here in these four walls, but you expand it to other partners?
You're going to be able to register for turntables and home thermostats by Ecobee.
Come on, that's fun.
Luggage.
That's
great. People want to register. A lot of people have set up their homes already. So we're offering them paddle boards and...
access to pickleball courts, whatever it is that comes
Exactly.
whatever it is that comes up. I love your idea about, we used to call it collaborative giving, where there's a more pricey item and you can have people pay a portion of it. We went into travel that way, which was a big growth. It's like it's a $5,000 trip, everybody can give $1,000, and it really was a big unlock in terms of registry, right? Because as you say, people, when they get married a bit older, they have a lot of stuff. So they probably have the KitchenAid stand mixer that everybody registers for, but they get it from somewhere else. All right, let's wrap up. A couple last questions. So very crowded category. You both know that. For Mud, what is it that's going to keep you at the forefront of what you're doing? What's another way of asking? What's next? I mean, is it a product assortment? It's certainly not color treatments, but is it SKU proliferation? Is it new categories? How do you think of growth? Everybody wants to think about growth, and how do you get at it?
I think our growth really comes from other markets. I mean, we've had pretty consistent growth from day dot, so we're pretty happy with that. Even things like GFCs and other awful things that have happened over the last 30 years have not sort of dented us too badly. I think keeping that consistent is, us being consistent and us being, I don't know if people want more from us. I think they just want us to keep doing what we do and keep doing it well.
More access, perhaps.
Maybe more access, that's it.
Right,
yeah,
right.
Yeah, definitely.
Martha, let's advice to your fellow independent retailers who are listening. And I put in the context of 2 starts and 1 stop, 2 things they should start doing. 1 thing they should stop. Maybe they did it before. Maybe you did it before and it just doesn't work anymore. But what's your advice? 2 things they absolutely have to start doing and 1 thing they should do, I don't know, less of.
Well, first of all, you need to understand your values and you need to understand your voice, okay? So they will help you build lasting relationships with your customers. The other thing is find your differentiation and lean into it. As you said, it's a very crowded marketplace, so you really have to understand who you are, what your values are, and then just go. I would say stop trying to compete on scale or price. You never going as an independent retailer. You just don't even think about Amazon. It's just you win. Yeah. You win by being personal. You win by being authentic, and not by being big.
It's interesting you say that because we often, Steve Dennis and I often talk to brands and we think of it as special, not big. Like not everybody needs to be a global powerhouse retailer, right? There's lots of room in the market for growth, but you've got to be special and you don't even have to be big. Because big, I find for some retailers, big is very distracting. It's like, how do we grow 10x? How do we do 100x? And it's really distracting because you're never going to, you're just a different kind of thing. Shelley, last words to you. As I think about and as you think about both a wholesale relationship and a direct relationship with customers, how do you think about that 1 + 1 = 3 math? In other words, the objective is for everybody to win, but how do you approach that?
We just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Like really, it's I didn't think that I was going to love retail as much as I love retail. And, we were a wholesale business for the first 15 years, and then we started our first store, and it was such a blast to be able to get feedback, to be able to fix my cash flow. That was amazing.
Sure.
But also just getting feedback from customers and allowing them into the conversation. What is next? What does the customer need? Because I've got everything I need out of Mud. But there are things that customers are going to need and they're going to tell me. And the only way that I keep a handle on that and keep my finger on the pulse is by having my own retail stores. I understand what these guys go through. Yeah. Because I do it too. Right. And I don't want to have 1 million stores. That's not my plan. I'm sort of in the last chapter of my working life, and I'm not going to sort of work till I'm 100. But it's really about connection and people wanting to connect. We make a product that brings people to the table to connect with the people that they love. They come into our stores and into Hopson Grace, and they connect with the teams that are here. I've spent a lot of time with the team here, and I've really enjoyed that experience. And that's, again, for me, another connection. There's no point us doing this unless we're actually getting something back from it. Right. And, it's the interpersonal connections and the sharing, which is lovely.
If people want to get in touch with you, are you a LinkedIn person, or what's the best way to learn more about the brand?
We have a wonderful website, mudaustralia.com, and I'm on LinkedIn. I don't know if I'm very good at it. I tend to work off my phone while I'm traveling, and that's sometimes I miss things. So please persevere. But
fantastic, Martha. Where can people find Hopson Grace and get in touch with you and your partner if they want to have a chat?
Same thing. HopsonGrace.com. Andrea and I are normally in the store. LinkedIn as well, and then of course the registry.ca.
Very exciting. When is that launched, or when does that launch?
It will launch likely before the end of the year.
Fantastic. Well, good luck with that. Launches are always both fun and chaotic.
It's a big year
It's a big
for us.
year.
We're excited. We're excited.
Congratulations on your ambition and everything you've accomplished. Both of you, congratulations on everything you've accomplished, and I wish you continued success. And thanks for joining me on the Voice of Retail podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of The Voice of Retail. If you haven't already, follow on your favorite podcast platform so new episodes will land automatically each week. And be sure and check out my other retail industry media properties, the Remarkable Retail Podcast with Steve Dennis and the Global E-Commerce Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc, Senior Retail Advisor, Keynote Speaker. If you want more content or chat, follow me on LinkedIn. Safe travels, everyone.